Hi, and welcome to another episode of Kuntarkis. My name is Michael Yon, and this is a special Casual Kuntarkis 9. This is special because I've got a list of questions that I've put together, which you can actually read in the description of this episode, the text description, Kuntarkis can answer yes to all of these, and there's a lot of them, and they're amazing. So let's dive right in. Welcome, Kuntarkis, and my first question is, after having given months to live, did you heal yourself of cancer?
Yes, I did. A lot of people will find it very, very hard to believe that a human being has the ability to heal, say, cancer, let alone rejuvenate an entire left lung. But once you learn to understand who you are and what you're made of, it becomes quite simple. If you can believe that you are energy created and manifested by your soul into this human world of solid matter, and that you have a spirit that keeps you here while you're physically alive, and if you understand that energy is also healing energy because it can be used for anything, then it makes it very simple to understand that, yes, one can heal themselves from any disease if they have that form of awareness.
Wow. Okay, diving into the next question, which is completely... These questions are all over the place, but it's exciting. I'm really happy to ask you these. So, Kuntarkis, the next question is, have you ever levitated?
Yes, I have actually. Yes, on 3 occasions. I haven't done it recently, but I'm doing something very different to what I did back then. Levitation, it can be achieved in 2 stages. First, you can levitate your spirit from your body, and you actually believe you are in that levitation form, knowing that your physical body is still sitting on the floor, but it is in like a hyper state, like a deep state, like a beta state, or even an alpha state. That's one way of doing it. The other is learning how to breathe more oxygen into your body, because oxygen is light. It's lighter than a feather. So if you can learn like the Buddhas have, and the Lamas and all the disciples, they do a special breathing technique, and they take about 10 years to 12 years to achieve it, where they can literally levitate off, say, a high mound of dirt and travel 60 meters across to another high mount of dirt. That's how they used to practice it. Not many people do it today, but I did achieve it 3 times, and I had witnesses that saw me do it, which was really amazing.
Wow.
And also, we've actually levitated a spirit, we've levitated a body only once, about 9 healers, and we literally levitated the body about, say, 8 to 10 inches off the actual healing bed, which was an amazing thing to do anyway, and to literally observe. And the only problem was most of them became so excited that they broke the connection and the person fell back onto the healing bed, which brought them back very quickly, which is not the way to do it.
Oh, wow. Okay, Kuntarkis, do you know what happens after we die?
Yes. Depending on the consciousness of an individual, and that means the consciousness, self-awareness, if you're aware of life after death, you'll come out of your body within 10 seconds to 1 minute. It's about that time. As you come out, you can look back and see your body lying on the ground. And most of the time you turn because you're being called, in a sense, and you'll go into spirit world. Depending on your level of understanding in consciousness, you go to different vibrations, because in spirit world, there are hundreds. You go to where your level of thinking exists.
Wow. Have you had countless mystical experiences?
Oh, Michael, since I've been on this planet from 1969, I've had hundreds. Yes, hundreds. It would take me probably a year just to go through them all.
Excellent, excellent. Maybe can you just share one that stands out briefly?
Actually, I can. This is about a gentleman, Henry, and Henry was shipwrecked. He was murdered on a ship coming over near Western Australia back in the 60s. And I communicated with him under very unusual circumstances. And we actually sat on a beach after everything was sorted out and helped him understand what happened to him. And eventually he went into spirit world and he went through the light and he'll eventually reincarnate. But the interesting thing about Henry was the type of individual that, how would you say, yes, sort of stole artifacts from Asian countries and he sold them to the Western side of the world for large amounts of money. And that's how he lived until his timely end. He had his throat slit so bad it cut and severed his cords, his vocal cords, and they dumped him over the boat into the ocean, and his body eventually naturally just deteriorated so badly, and probably all the microscopic organisms ate it away. But that's one experience, and it was really a very interesting experience, and that's an out-of-body experience.
It's funny because, like, if only a TV show could be done about all the different beings that you help out during your time of sleep, all the different adventures you have, because you've just helped countless, haven't you?
Yes.
Countless beings. Yeah. So basically, it almost ends with turn, and do you see the light to your right? Go, if you like, go through the light, and they're like, oh yeah, I see it. Okay, I'm going through, and that's kind of how it would make an amazing TV show if only you could get cameras to follow you around.
Well, that's what they had. That's what they used to do, called The Unexplained.
Oh, okay.
And they actually had a show on Channel 7 and back in the 60s or 70s. And that's how this one with Henry came about. And it's about the boat called the Alkimos. And that's the one that actually ran aground off the coast of Western Australia. And it's still there today. And there was a guy in Western Australia who actually wrote a book on it called The Alkimos. There's a little bit more. I can't remember the words. So it was a real event. But
Okay.
it all was balanced.
Okay, Kuntarkis. My next question is, are you friends with several evolved aliens?
Yes, I am. Yes.
Not only that, you've got family.
Family like in aliens, you mean?
Yeah, you've got your brother and you've got your father.
Yeah, I have a father called Yarkis Kardis, who's probably around about 19 billion years old. I've got a brother that he created as he created me, my sister, and my other brother 3.83 million years ago from his own essence, and his name is Kanag. Now, at the moment, he actually lives in what is called the fifth dimension, and he can actually come down through vibration and come back to his planet at will and create what he calls a synthetic body out of living energy. And that's what I'm learning to do on this earth. When I come out of my body, I create a solid body. And I've traveled around the world to different events and done different things with people that are physical in daytime. And I've found that so extraordinary. It brings me back to my brother, what he does. So yes, yeah. And my sister Kalusha and my other brother, which is Nagras.
They are your alien siblings.
Well, yes, they are. But so people don't misunderstand. We have had, the four of us have had dozens of lives on a planet called Nakaris. And that's 417,000 light years from planet Earth. And we've been all different families. So today on this earth, I came here to find Kalusha and Nakris. And Kalusha, who is Michelle, is my human wife. And my son, Nakris, is JC, my human son.
Excellent. So my next question is also about aliens. Have you met with aliens here on Earth during this physical life?
Dozens of times, Michael.
Wow.
Yes, yes. And I've met with a lot of different types of aliens, yes.
Wow. My next question is, do you have, I want to go back. Maybe you can give one example. So in this physical life of yours, you've connected with a physical alien on this planet.
Yes. I would call her, let's use the one called Kadi. Kadi stands about a meter tall, and she's from a very far distant planet, and she comes from a civilization that looks like praying mantis that have evolved into their form of, say, being. And they've been around for millions of years. They are highly advanced in technology. They are friends to the Nicarons, where I come from. And she has now been elevated to a higher, how would you say, a higher form for their society as an ambassador for their civilization. And she's the only one. And she travels around the universe. Well, she came to me, something like 30 years ago, 35 years ago. And she spoke through me to a group of people doing a medium session. And people were just amazed of the green energy that surrounded my being. And they could actually see her form.
Wow.
Just sort of out of the body. So it was quite amazing, really. Well, she became my personal friend because I've known her in other existences. Yes.
Oh, that's beautiful. My next question is, do you understand the intelligence of the heart?
Well, I don't want to brag about that, Michael, but I'm going to say that, yes, I'm learning. The intelligence of the heart is far more superior to the logical human brain. Reason why? Your heart is connected through your mind directly to your soul. And that's why we call it the intelligent heart. Your heart can hold more data than the human brain, even though the human brain has a great purpose in existence. But it's a physical organ, just like the heart, but the heart knows it's connected through the mind to the soul, and it gathers a lot of information. And it's always a positive thing, not a negative thing, where the human brain, it stores what information comes from the soul through the mind to the brain. But it also dissects it because it is part of what is called the human ego. And that's the interesting factor.
Excellent. So my next question, have you had lives on other planets?
Yes, I've had a couple of lives on a planet called Taurus, which is the Ilias. And the Ilias are a very unique race. I think they've been around for about, I think it's between 17 and 19 million years. I'd have to double check that. But also they're ginger-headed beings, and they're a one race being. They don't intermingle whatsoever with culture or with other civilizations when it comes to intimacy, right? They are a one world people, in a sense. They're not tall people, but they're all ginger-haired. And the interesting factor is, very quickly, they came here and they built the pyramids. All the pyramids, the main pyramids, the Giza and all the other ones. And the reason they built them was to allow, once they're in space from their world, it shines so brightly, it allows them to know exactly where they are, and it can then be guided down to that exact spot. The other thing is, the people who are ginger-headed on this planet today are ancestors to the original Ilias, because some Ilias were naughty and intermingled with the locals, which they weren't supposed to, but they did. And they realized once they did that, they could not go back to their own home.
By law.
By law, yeah. So they stayed and they became a civilization. And that's like, from Welsh and all that type of thing, or from those countries.
Brilliant. Have you had lives on other planets? I asked. Yes. Yeah, you had lives on
Dorothea.
Dorothea was another one, of course.
Yes.
Nicaris, which is your main home planet.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Do you get visions of the future?
Well, the future is a really interesting factor, Michael. A lot of people on this planet Even some scientists believe that we can go through a time machine or a time tunnel and end up in the future by programming it. Well, that's completely a fallacy. It's not true. What we can do, because it's already been, we can go back into the past. And it's complicated, but we can do it. When we say we're going into the future, there is a part of that that's truth, but it's not of this vibration. There are multidimensional worlds that exist, 17 to be exact, that I know of, but there's probably more. They have the past up to the present, what we have in technology and society, but they also have ones that are future. So we can go into multidimensional worlds in the future, because all humans that exist on this planet today in this moment also exist on the other 17 multidimensional worlds. And we're all working out our own karma, our own self-awareness, our own understanding of divinity, of the soul. So it's just lessons of life, lessons of existence.
So Nikola Tesla, you mentioned in our previous episode that he had actually built a time machine. That would have to go backwards then, wouldn't it?
It would have to go backwards, yes.
Yeah.
But again, he can take that ship if he was still around, right? If he was capable of going around at that time in the 1930s, he could have gone to worlds in the future, but of the multi-dimensional worlds.
Yes.
Okay?
Sure. My next question was already covered, but I'll say it anyway. Do you know who built the pyramids?
Absolutely. It was the Ilias.
Yeah.
Over 26,000 years ago.
The redheads, the Ilias.
The redheads, that's it.
Okay.
Light ginger and sort of bright red, yes.
And they were like 6 foot tall, weren't they?
Just under.
Just under, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, they weren't tall people, not like the Nicarons. They're between 7 foot and 7 foot 2 inches tall.
Speaking of tall, do you know about the dragons?
Are you talking about the dragons that exist on Dorothea?
Yeah.
Yes, okay. There is a planet, and it's called Dorothea. The beings there are known as the Doricans. If we went back several million years ago, they would be vicious dragons who would want to rip you apart as their prey because they didn't have the intelligence or the self-awareness. The Nicarons, over a very long period of time, came to their world and helped them transform their consciousness into what they call humanoid, similar to humans, but a little different, very different in body shape, very unique in their muscular structure because that's what they are. So they became more humanoid. And over time, a lot of them don't even go back or regress into a dragon. There are some that still do because it's heritage. Yeah, so they actually come from dragons, and they're called the Doricans.
Beautiful. And what about the vampires?
The vampires, the Hemazines, yeah, they're a society and a half. If we go back in human history, it tells the whole story, but a lot of it's been embellished, more fantasy and, lies and fear. But the Hemazines are an alien race who have the ability to project. It's like they're projecting some form of essence of themselves that can become nearly solid. And they can hypnotize. They put thought projections into your human brain, and they can make you very docile and accept what they're trying to do. And they used to actually bite humans and drink their blood. And that's what their whole diet is about, is drinking blood. The problem was over half of their civilization perished in a very short period of time because of a substance called E. coli. Their bodies could not handle such a high toxic organism, and it literally killed, as I said, over half their population. But what they did do, they took thousands of animals off this planet over a period of time, so no one would really notice it back then. And they harvest those animals, not harm them. That's the beauty. They harm no animals. and their animals live far better than what the animals do on this world. They have no fear of being murdered or slaughtered, and they live in peace. And what they do is they harvest the blood, being vegetarian animals only. And that's their society. They live off blood, which is vegetarian.
Wow. And they've met with the Nakarans, haven't they?
On 2 occasions, and it went okay. But as Kuntarkis said, I will not go back to that planet. That's what he said. Yeah. He found it very hard to be amongst their presence, knowing what they have done and what they do. Mm. And when they offered him food, like, to drink blood, it nearly made him sick.
Oh, no. That's all they did. They offered blood, did they?
They offered blood, yes.
Oh, my gosh.
But because the Nakarans were very aware of this, they bought a whole array of their fruits and vegetables. And they actually had them all brought off the massive spaceship into the big conference area. And they ate that while the Hermesines drank blood. Yeah.
Okay. My next question is, do you know how far back human history really goes?
Okay. If we go back in human history, let's say first 928,000 years, Neanderthals were walking the earth and they were quite evolved. They didn't have a full language, but they had a language that had grunts. And all those type of grunts were reverberations of what came out of the mouth. And they learnt through that how they could communicate. And that was interesting. That was a form of intelligence, which is really good. But 928,000 years ago, 87,000 Nakarans were placed here because they weren't willing to go beyond their habits, their way of life, their way of thinking. So they were eventually brought here to live freely and to work out who they are and what they are. And that's how humanity evolved, as well as all the Asians. They were genetically engineered to begin with from alien DNA, as well as chimps, monkeys, baboons, and gorillas. And that's how the alien race eventually evolved over hundreds and hundreds of thousands of years. And it was an alien race that created that in the first place, trying to create a species that weren't violent. But unfortunately, that didn't work very well. That's why the aliens left.
Interesting.
Yeah, but if we go back further, Michael, we could go back several. Let me give you an idea. Let me give you a quick idea. We could go back over 30 million years ago.
Wow.
And alien races lived on this planet. Mainly, they came here for the resources because it was nothing but a thick jungle.
And again, they were humanoid aliens.
They were humanoid, yes, they were humanoid. But not all of them were humanoid. But what they did, there were no humans on this planet at that time. But it created a society that chose to stay, and they built all these massive cities so they could live here in comfort. But eventually, all the aliens left. And then other aliens came over that 30 million year period.
Wow.
So, yeah, there were humanoid aliens here over 30 million years ago, yes.
Wow. Okay, my next question. I know you use different terminology, but other people are more used to it being said like this. Do you know how to astral travel?
Yes, I do. Astral travel is not the best way to do it, but it's a good way to start. When you call it astral travel, a lot of the times that is your lower essence of your emotions. And when you come out of your body, a lot of the times you stay in the earthly vibration and you move around to do the things that maybe you shouldn't do if you have certain, say, human habits. But you also go into the astral world. But the thing is, it catches you. It stops you from evolving if you try to live in that vibration all the time. The whole point about evolution is to grow beyond your habits of life, your negative habits of life, and become self-aware in thought consciousness. In other words, don't live in your emotions. Go beyond your emotions and become a feeling being. In becoming a feeling being allows you to grow in self-awareness and in thought consciousness. And you start to communicate with a higher intelligence, not just of yourself, but of the vibrations that exist within the earthly vibration and within the spirit vibration, as well as many other universes, because there are trillions of them.
So tell us about your spirit travel.
Well, I'm learning, and I'm getting better and better and better. I don't have the full conscious awareness at this moment, but I will. And when I come out of my body, it's my spirit, which is a higher energy from your astral body. The spirit can come out of the body and go straight into spirit world. And it can do whatever it wants to do, unaware or aware. It depends, again, on their understanding. But as you grow consciously, you begin to become like a creator in a way. You can go into spirit world and create that looks physical, touches and feels physical, but in reality, it's in the fourth dimension, which is energy. But your thought consciousness allows you to believe that it's solid, and it feels solid. You can talk, you can laugh, you can build, you can swim, you can do whatever you want to do, create a car and drive the best car in the world. But it takes discipline. It takes knowledge in self-awareness, right? But I have also traveled the world and know that I've created a synthetic body out of pure will. And that body does not have internal organs. It just looks solid. It's like solid rubber in a way, right? You can push it and it moves like the human body in all ways. You're strong. You can pick things up. But nobody, if they looked at you, would think that you're anything different, because you're exactly who you are without internal organs, right? Because there's no reason for it. You don't breathe, you don't drink, you don't eat, but you can, by the way. I had an experience very quickly a long time ago, and this being took me to this place in the forest, like a jungle, tall pine trees, and these two massive doors. And he knocked at the door, or I knocked. The doors open, and there was this little Chinese man standing there, only a small man. And he says, "Come in." He said, "It's about time." He said, "You woke up." He was talking to me. And we literally went into his house, which was made out of stone. Absolutely beautiful. And he was a physical being, but he can create himself to be a physical being. That was the difference. And we sat in a hot bath, and it was all rock. It was a waterfall that came in. It was heated by natural substance. And we sat there, but we were also, when we came out, we were eating pumpkin scones. And I could see the steam coming off the pumpkin scones where he cooked them in his wood oven. So it was an incredible experience to make me realize there is no such thing as impossibility, because everything is possible if you have the right frame of mind.
Wow, that's beautiful. My next question is, do you know how to use telepathy?
Yes, I do. But the only problem is there's not a lot of people that put any time into that factor to develop their own, say, telepathic ways. You're
a bit lonely on this planet, are you, Kuntarkis?
Yeah, I am a bit lonely from that perspective. Michelle and I, we do.
Oh, yeah.
I can send her a telepathic thought, and I'm not joking, she's very good. She picks it up. She may not know exactly what I'm saying, but she'll ring me. Right? Or she's telling me, I said, "I heard you, but I didn't make out what it was."
Yeah.
So telepathic abilities do exist. We have the ability. Every human on this planet has. But the problem is we are allowing ourselves to be dumbed out to a point where our pineal gland is now coated with fluoride. Because if you look at even toothpaste, if you leave toothpaste out, because it's got fluoride in it, it will go hard as rock nearly, really hard. Well, that's what's happened to our pineal gland. It's covered. And if it's covered, our self-awareness can't open up. Our thought consciousness beyond this vibration can't be developed. So we need to break the coating of the pineal gland through the power of the mind and change the habits of our body and stop using products that are causing this. Water, for instance, is full of fluoride, and it's second-grade fluoride, and it's not good for our bodies. It literally eats away at our fine nervous system.
You do use telepathy with your friends and family from other worlds, don't you?
Yes, I do, especially with my father and with Kanag. Even with Kadi, I'm getting better and better with Kadi. I do it also with the being by the name of Taikani, and he was befriended by my father, Yakas Kardis, who saved him in a very violent act, and he developed him. He saw the potential, and he's now like my father. He's now like a creator. He's not as advanced as Yakas Kardis, but he's getting there.
As in, like super, like second most advanced being in the universe, right? Most likely.
I can say yes to that because that's what I know. But for all I know, the universe is thousands and thousands of trillions of years old in evolution. I don't believe there's anyone that can actually define how old the universe is. And if they do, it sounds like their ego's coming out, right? Especially a physical person. It's so vast, it's not funny. But yes, I would say that Taikani is second to my father, yes.
I had another question here. I will skip to this one. Do you know how the universe began?
I do. I found out by the fluke. Yes, through my meditations, and especially when I meditated in 1988, especially, it became very, very open to that form of knowledge. And what I discovered was that the universe, from the beginning of time, but there was no time, by the way, I'm just using that as a terminology. From the beginning of time, all that existed was dormant particles, which were microscopic, called living energy. They didn't know they were living energy. They just existed in the silence of their own being. In a moment of reality, there was one microscopic cell that was curious about its evolution, about its own existence. Some say that it asked the question, who am I? But that's not true. That's a fallacy. That was just somebody created that. But you could say that in a way, but that one little organism of a cell started to glow. It was starting to form life within itself. Energy began to glow because it was becoming curious of its existence. It's no different to, say, a human. If a human feels if they feel like they are overwhelmingly, how would you say, conscious of something, they raise their consciousness, which allows them to see things more clearly than what they would have saw, say, 5 years ago. And that's the same from the beginning of time. That one cell evolved. And during the hundreds of thousands of years of its evolution, other cells started to glow, but they were still dormant. So they attracted magnetically to that one cell. Life began, Michael.
Wow.
Whatever form it was, life began. Over hundreds and hundreds of billions of years, planets came into existence. Over millions or billions of years, life started to develop on those planets in whatever way they chose. The planets started to grow in consciousness. The planets are what creates all the life forms on those planets, like the trees, the scrub, the water, eventually the rocks, volcanoes, meridians within the planet that gives it life, just like the human body. Life came originally from the oceans because of its genetic contents, and life began. Life began to spring. I mean, look at a barren volcano that just created this massive amount of volcanic ash that looked like an island. But when you get closer, you see the veins in it where it's still bubbling underneath. No life could exist. And yet, even through David Attenborough, life began. Why? How? A little plant floated through the air or over the water and landed on the actual ashes. And now it began to grow particles and eventually a bush, eventually a tree. Eventually it spread over a kilometre of the island. Another, say, 10 million years, it covered the island. And that's how everything evolves, just like humans.
Beautiful. That was a beautiful answer, Kuntarkis. My next question is, do you have access to knowledge beyond your physical means? But also, I really should ask, how do you have access to knowledge beyond your physical means?
Okay. I'm not the person that, in many cases, I don't go out and say, oh, I need that. I need to know that. I need to understand that. Why not? Yes, I need to search. I'm an open vessel for infinite knowledge. I've opened up my vessel to my soul through my mind. It's like I can think something and it becomes so clear in its own reality that I know it exists. I've learned to go back in my own cellular memory and see my own past lives that I've been here, which is only 3 plus this one. But actually there was one for 10 years, but that's sort of not really important. But I also can go back to the original recipient of this body, Roman, and I can see every single life he's ever existed in. And humans on this planet also have the same ability. You have over 4 quadrillion cells. Those cells hold every memory, every action, every thought, every experience. And they go deep within. And the more experiences, the deeper that knowledge of the past goes down and down within cells to give more room for more experiences, more knowledge. So yes, there is a part of me that discovered something not that long ago, but a little bit. I learned how to go into the void. And the void is a place called nothingness. Some call it the Acacia Records. And within the Acacia Records, or the nothingness, there is the past of humanity. All of humanity, from the past to the present moment. Every life experience, every thought, every action is there within that void, that nothingness. And I'm learning really well how to go back into the past consciously in a form that I create, and I can go into it and start to bring forth a particular part of a particular era in the past, like Nikola Tesla, for instance. I saw everything about Nikola Tesla. I know the FBI murdered him. They poisoned him because they increased his dose, got rid of his original doctor, and gave him another doctor to increase the dosage of his rat poison. What do they call that? There's a word for it. I just can't think of it. It's in the back of my mind.
Were you saying it's his medication, or?
Yeah, it's his medication. They used to use it a lot, and they still do today. They call it rat poison, but there's a certain name for what it is, and I just can't think of it. But that product can help digestion, blood flow, thin the blood. It can do a lot of things. But too much of it, over a period of time, will eventually stop your heart. And that's what happened to Nikola Tesla. The reason they did that was to grab all of his inventions, all of his technology and his documents, which they did. Within 2 days after he was taken out of I think he was in one of the, he was in New York City, in one of the smaller high-rise buildings that he lived in an apartment until his death, which was really sad, actually. So within this place, the void, you can bring fragments forward, and you can say in your consciousness, by connecting to that past energy, formulate. And you're working it, and what you're seeing is that past part is starting to come together, and you'll witness it like a massive TV screen spinning, going around and around, and you're seeing it like a film. And that is an ability that everyone has, but you got to go beyond what you are. You got to discipline yourself. You got to change your diet. Get rid of your filthy earthly habits. No smoking, no drinking, no alcohol. It's a toxic poison. It dehydrates the body for a start and causes all sorts of problems. You can just look around. Yep, go on.
Yeah, well, speaking of going and visiting this information, you also are able to remember all your past lives, right?
Yes.
It's the same deal, isn't it?
It's the same deal, Michael. Yes, it is. Yes.
Yeah.
You know, that's how sorry, Michael. You know, my first book called The Dream Assassin, not my first book, my third book called The Dream Assassin Volume 1. That's how I created the magical shows. I brought certain people through the nothingness, through my own mind, and recreated the circumstances and the dialogue into that book. Those beings actually existed. And I made it part of my movie, so it brings the reality of truth, not just fiction. Same with Nikola Tesla, all that.
Wow. Okay, my next question is, do you know of aliens that are on this earth right now?
Yeah, you mean negative ones?
Well, that's really are there any positive ones?
There are.
Oh, tell us about the positive ones.
Okay, there are positive ones that are working. There's not many, but there are positive ones that are working towards a betterment of humanity in evolution. They are basically being pulled down by an organization which are aliens called the Zerazines, which I've also put in chapter 7 in my book, volume 1 of The Dream Assassin. That reality is probably 50% truth. The rest is I created the fantasy around it, the dialogue and the description. They are called the green reptilians, and they control a lot of high-profile people like politicians and billionaires to think the way they think in the greyest of areas. And they're trying to deplatform all of humanity, so in the end they can control them, because what they want so desperately is to live like humans do. You know, go to the beach, kick a ball, play cricket, design cars, work, have a house that's colourful. They don't understand that side of their existence. They live in like grey buildings, and it just all like looks like solid concrete. They don't have a lot of trees. They don't have waterways. They don't have anything that would make you smile. Right? It's funny thing is they're fourth dimensional in a way, but they live in a vibration that we can't physically see them because we're third dimensional.
Because of technology.
Because of technology. They only do it because of technology. They can't do it in their own brain because they don't have that ability. They're very grey in their own consciousness.
So what about these positive aliens? Because this is the first time I've heard you speak of the positive aliens here.
Okay. The positive aliens come down and they're volunteers. Some of them walk in like myself. Others are born. A lot of them don't end up in a very positive way because of the
life's
influence.
so different, isn't it?
Yeah, life is so different to what they're used to, and they find it really, really hard.
Negative.
And if they end up being really imbalanced and end up like alcoholics, drug addicts, whatever else, they mean they have to come back when they perish to redo their karma, because they've created a negative existence. So they have to come back and create a positive existence so they can elevate their consciousness in self-awareness.
So really, yeah, sorry. So really, when you say there's positive aliens that are here to influence in positive ways, really they're incarnating into our human bodies, aren't they?
That is correct.
There aren't any are there high level greys that are helping us out?
There are. Yes, there are. There are. They keep an eye on what we're doing. They're trying to balance the energies. There is a lot of negative energies on planet Earth, and that's over the last nearly million years. It's created by negative thoughts, negative actions, meaning the amount of horrendous violence that has occurred in nearly a million years on this planet. The karma is so huge, it takes a long time for it to dissolve.
Wow. Well, my next question is, do you know the principles of manifestation?
Yes, I do.
Well, good.
Yes. I think that's a subject, Michael, we should do as an episode, because I've manifested a lot of things into my life, whether it's spiritually or physically, but I'm still working at it. But I put a lot of my energies, my friend, into the vibration beyond Earth, like the fourth dimension. And I do a lot of my work in those vibrations, higher fourth dimensional and lower fourth dimensional, to help beings go beyond what they are. Because there are beings, Michael, that have been stuck there for thousands and thousands of years. And they're just living out the same existence over and over and over and over again, because they're not getting any form of understanding. Or they don't want to listen because they think you're some sort of scary monster. So it makes it very difficult, but that's what I do. That's what I do. And I write books, right? We do podcasts to give people knowledge so people can maybe grow beyond what they are.
Wow. Well, this is a different one. Do you know martial arts, and do you use it in the spirit world?
Oh, yes. I get rid of a lot of very nasty characters that leave their physical bodies and go into spirit world and cause the same sort of chaos that they were when they were physical. They haven't grown at all in consciousness or self-awareness, and they're just bullies. A lot of bullies who are bullies when they're kids grow up to be bullies, and some end up being murderers and rapists and all that type of stuff, killers. And they take the same sort of level of understanding into spirit world. See, your spirit can't evolve if your physical doesn't. Your spirit wants to evolve. It really wants to, but it's held back by the pathetic habits we have as humans. And once we break those habits, we can learn to connect to our spirit and grow equally in consciousness. That's the whole point of evolution.
Wow. Wow, that's excellent. And my final question, Kuntarkis, is, do you know who the greatest, most evolved being in this universe is?
To my present knowledge and understanding, yes, I do. And I would have to say, not because he's my physical, that's the wrong terminology. Not because he's my creator or my father. That would be Yarkis Kardas. Because I would give him total respect of my heart to him always. I would sacrifice my entire existence to help him out or to save him if I had to. And I would be no more. But that wouldn't matter, because I have appreciated everything from the heart to what he's given me and done for me. Back on Nakaris, he gave me a gift of magic, just like him. And I developed that magic where I taught the Nakarons how to utilize living energy from thought consciousnness. No one has ever done that. And that magic I learned. I was creating things, vessels, houses, whatever, clothes. And I was doing it for fun. But one day I thought about it. And I thought, the Nakarons have been working with living energy for so long, millions of years. Why can't I teach them a higher form of manifesting living energy through thought consciousness into reality. Mate, they build everything from living energy, and that's including into solid matter. Their ships, their houses, their buildings, their food, everything. It's just mind-blowing for anyone to fully comprehend that. So I would have to say, from my heart, Yakas Kardas.
Very good. And how many billion years old is he, do you think?
He's just on 19 billion with a B.
Wow, 19 billion years old. Well, thank you, Kuntarkis, for all that you've shared. This concludes Casual Kuntarkis 9. If you'd like to find out more about Kuntarkis, you can find his website, etcconsciousness.com. Also, we have a Facebook page, which is Kuntarkis. And yes, if you'd like to contact us for whatever reason, feel free to email kuntarkis@gmail.com. That's it for now. Thanks so much for listening, and stay tuned for more.